We interrupt this broadcast to bring you a special announcement. The unconditional surrender of Japan has just been announced. We repeat, Japan has surrendered and the war is over.
The 15th of August, 1945, VJ Day. The Second World War had ended suddenly, unexpectedly, and horribly. On the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, atomic bombs had been dropped. With these bombs, a 6-year war had stopped. The world had been hardened to death and dismemberment by raw explosion. It did not yet understand that a new creeping horror, radiation, had been spilled upon the earth. The use of these satanic instruments might be debated to the end of time. But in August 1945, there was little soul-searching. It mattered only that the heart of a ruthless empire had been burned out, and that Japanese outposts of oppression could now be torn away. Anxiously, Canada waited for news from one such outpost. At Hong Kong, 1,500 Canadian soldiers had been taken prisoner nearly 4 years earlier. On September 1st, the savage warders of Hong Kong surrendered their death camp. For 319 Canadians, it was already too late. Here and at work camps in Japan, they had died of mistreatment and neglect. Hundreds more lay at the edge of death. For these broken men, it was difficult to comprehend, to understand that it was over. The 2nd of September and Tokyo Bay. On the USS Missouri, the wretched struggle ended in high drama. The Japanese warlords came to perform their last act.
I now invite the representatives of the Emperor of Japan and the Japanese government and the Japanese Imperial General Headquarters to sign the instrument of surrender at the places indicated.
The representative of Australia will now sign.
More than 50 nations had been at war with Japan. 9 of them accepted the surrender.
The representative of Canada will now sign. It is my earnest hope, and indeed the hope of all mankind, that from this solemn occasion, a better world shall emerge out of the blood and carnage of the past.
For 297,000 Canadians still in Europe, there would be no other war to worry about after all. Everybody could think of going home. They were not professional soldiers, but a citizen army. Many had been away for almost 6 years. For some, the mounting frustrations of an unnatural life had boiled over in ugly rioting at Aldershot and Halifax. But most contained their vast impatience to get on home, and on the whole, the great repatriation was swift and efficient. All these men who had seen death would carry their secret scars. Others carried scars that would scream at the world. For most of the 52,000 wounded, there would be recovery. But many came home to live out an invalid's life. In the Canadian forces, 13 men of epic courage had won a Victoria Cross. Of these, Minarski, Hornell, Gray, Osborne, and Cousins were killed in action. But 8 came home: Tilston, Topham, Foote, Triquet, Mahoney, Curry, Smith, Merritt. And then there was the general, and he came home with his men. Harry Crerar was a quiet man, but he was solid. Like the others, he'd done his job. They had respected him, and he had respected them.
I am deeply moved by the tribute which you have paid to me. While I do not feel for a minute entitled to accept it in a personal sense, I can do so with a clear conscience on the basis that this represents your feelings towards all ranks of the 1st Canadian Army.